Good afternoon to everybody. Am I audible to you?
Yes, sir.
Mm. Actually, uh, I have to arrange all these things, the classes. I have to admit the participants. That is why mm, there may be a little bit late the first class by me. And another thing that all the students are requested to join at least within 15 minutes of the class, and the first 15 minutes of the class. From 3 to 3:15 is okay, but some students are joining towards the end of the class also. Uh, so I am admitting all the students. Whatever I experience, that some students they join at the end of the class. So there is no need to join at the end of the class. And one more thing, that those who are joining, once you join, um, you can rejoin without any problem. Present option is there. If you press present option, you can automatically join. Uh, so we'll start MEG-14 block 4. In block 4, we have short stories, Indian short stories, which have been translated into English. Okay. The first short story is by Mahasweta Devi Mahasweta Devi. The story is Salt, known. The name of the story, and it was written originally in Bengali, and Bengali they say noon in Bengali, that we say Ludo in Odia and Namak in Hindi. So they say noon, and some other people are there also in different other languages. They say noon. So salt is the story. Okay, we'll discuss that story, and we have 5 stories in this block. We have 5 stories, so it's not possible to discuss all the stories, but I'll try at least to cover the maximum, and we'll see how many stories are being covered. So we'll start with salt. The salt is a very interesting story, and you'll enjoy the story. It was written by Mahasweta Devi. He's a great writer, both in regional and in. She was a regional writer, but she had her acclaim all over the world, being a figure of literature. Her most of works have been translated into English, and this is one of them. Okay. And the author means Mahaswata Devi had received Jnanapith Award, Padma Shri, Padma Bhushan, all the prestigious awards that we find in India. She has received all the awards because of her competency in writing the contemporary society, reflecting the contemporary society in literature. The story is based on the period in which emergency was declared in India during the period of Indira Gandhi. Emergency in 75 towards 1975, there was emergency declared in the country. So during that period, this particular story, uh, the setting of the story. Okay. So the story, there are 4 characters. One is Purti Munda. We say the protagonist of the story, Purti Munda. Uttam Chand is a Jamindar, landlord. The youth committee can also be treated as a character, though not in an individual, the youth committee in that village. Okay, they are also very instrumental. Village headman is another character, the head of the village, and a koya, an elephant, is another character. So, Purti Munda, one, Uttam Chand, two, village headman, three, and Ekoya. These are four important characters in this story. And the youth committee was there, and the head of the committee was Purti Munda. Purti Munda, the protagonist, is the head of the committee, head of the youth committee in that village. Okay, so the story is about the exploitation of the poor uh, during that particular period in Bengal. It was written in Bengali, so definitely the culture that we come across while discussing this story, the culture is purely confined to Bengal, but you can have echoes of such cultural traits in different other parts of our country also, because during that time, everywhere we find the same kind of scenario. Only the languages, the dress patterns, everything related to our culture may vary, but the internal part of the culture, the inherent trends of the culture, the traditions are the same. Marriage is same in all the cultures, but you will find marriage being celebrated in different ways. So Bengal at that time was very known to the country as a developed area, developed state, as British India, East India Company, they focused West Bengal a lot. Now, after independence, the attention of the people changed, and we have many metro cities today, and Kolkata is one of them. But during British Raj, Mumbai, Delhi, that we now, Tamil Nadu, we know Chennai, Bangalore in Karnataka. These places are more populated, more developed if you compare with Kolkata. But during British Raj, Kolkata was very developed kind of city. Anyhow, Bengali culture has been given priority here. You can focus on that. So what happens just after independence? Britishers left the country. Okay, Britishers left the country. India had its own democracy, own constitution, different rules, different policies, different laws were introduced. But still, the system of jamindars will be their landlords. They will exploit the poor, the needy people, those who need money for their meal, 2 meals a day, per day, whatever you need for eating to fill your stomach, you must require food. And these poor people have no lands, mostly the tribal people, they do not have their own land. So they have to go to the jamindar and work for them, and out of their working, jamindar will pay them something which is not equivalent to their labor that they delivered, they surrender to the jamindar. And that is not equivalent to that, but still the people are happy. The tribal people are happy, and they were living, they were working hard, they are doing everything, they are worshipping the landlord like God. These kind of things are going on at that time. So we have a lot of such examples. If you go through different Odia stories, novels of Fakir Mohan Sanapati, Gopinath Mahanti, Surendra Mahanti, if you read the books of these people, you will also Chauman Atagun, 6 acre and a half is also a translated text. Okay, so if you read that, you can also understand. You must have watched the movie based on Chauman and Atagun novel by Fakir Mohan Sanapati. So you can also see that how exploit, how the jamindars, the landlords are exploiting the poor, and how they misinterpret everything, because the tribal people are very poor, uneducated, they cannot understand, they cannot raise their voice. So because of that, taking the benefit, the advantage of their simplicity, these landlords, they exploit them the most. In different movies also, Odia movies, old Odia movies, you can see the Odia culture, how jamindars, if you have taken 200 rupees, they will take your land. They will calculate in such a way the rate of interest and everything, that after their calculation they will say that this is 200 rupees has become 20 lakhs. So how can you pay so big? The amount is, you cannot pay. So if you do not pay, if you fail to repay, so in Chaman Athaguntu you must have heard that the cow, the land, everything they will take away. So how can you live then? You will go to them, work under them day and night, and they will never give you the payment as per your work, as per your labor you rendered in their field. They will not pay accordingly. They will give you money just to eat and live, just to survive. So that is why Jamindars were very rich at that time, very arrogant, very they are very rude kind of people. All Jamindars, their sons, their generations, they are very proud of themselves. They feel that they are gods on the earth. So in this situation, in such kind of scenario, this incident, the story has been said. Urti Munda and the youth committee, they want that the tribal people should get whatever they deserve. If the Jamindar did not pay them as per their labor, they will not work for Jamindar Uttam Chand. Uttam Chand was the cruel Jamindar. So the youth committee, they forced other tribal people in the village not to work for Uttam Chand, the Jamindar. If the Jamindar will pay you what they deserve according to the norms, suppose the we calculate the salary, the everyday wages that we consider 350, now 400 rupees is a kind of daily wages, that if you work for 8 hours a day, so you have to demand, or you can be given 400 rupees. That is the current kind of wages that we usually demand, or usually going on in the society. So at that time it was fixed also. It was fixed. It was not 400 rupees. It may be 5 rupees or 10 rupees. Or in anaj also. At that time, anaj has a lot of value. Today we talk about hundred and thousands for a very small thing. But at that time, anaj, 4 anaj, 5 anaj, 6 anaj. Okay, 4 anaj, uh, total 4 into 4. 16 annas is 1 rupees. Okay. So 4 anna may be the value of your work, but the Jamidar was not paying that much also. So this is, you can say, this is the peak of the exploitment, peak of the exploitment. We're exploiting the poor, uneducated, the ignorant people, in any way, in any manner that is possible by the Jamindar. So this youth committee, they force the people not to cooperate Uttam Chand. So if he finds problematic, if he cannot um, complete all his works, he will definitely come to us and will pay accordingly. So that was the motive underlying, that if we do not cooperate, his fields will be barren. He cannot cultivate his field. So definitely he will give us as per our demand, and we will work for him also after that. But Uttam Chand was not a person like that, he will be suppressed. He will be he will take everything like this and will surrender himself before this youth committee and give whatever they demand. So he was not that kind of person. He was also very cruel, very rude, very evil kind of person. He was searching for other ways by which he can put these people in trouble, so that these tribal people will, innocent people will come to him, and he will again start exploiting them. So this was the thing going on. So what happened? Jamindar Uttam Chand made a plan. The plan was to stop providing salt to the tribal people of that area. Means all the shops those were selling salt there was taking salt from the wholesaler, that you can say, available in the market, and all the sellers selling salt in the market belong to all the shops belong to Jamindar Uttam Chand. So when Uttam Chand stopped giving salt, stopped selling salt, so there was the shortage of salt in the area. Gradually there was no salt available. All the tribal people has to eat without salt. So can you imagine to eat without salt? You can manage for 1 day or 2 days, but after that you cannot get habituated with food without salt. So that was the situation, that you are bound to eat without salt. So in such a situation, uh, the people could manage for some days, but later when they come to know from a doctor that salt is very essential for your energy, for your strength. If you do not have salt in your food, so you cannot survive long. So when people come to know the truth behind salt, the necessity of salt for body, the tribal uneducated people, they tried different means how they can secure salt, how they can bring salt and eat salt. So they initially they exchanged grains, rice, other things with the forest officials. The forest officials usually they had a lot of salt with them, because they were instructed to um, they were given a lot of salt, plenty of salt. They had to throw the salt in different areas of the forest, because salt is also required for the animals. Okay, the forest officers, they take care of the animals. For the strength of the animals, they have to throw the salt in the forest areas. And the forest officers, in exchange of grains, wheat, and other materials, okay, whatever money, ornaments, whatever available with the tribal people, they exchanged and brought salt from the forest people, and they managed some days, but that was not possible for every day. How much they will pay to the first officials for such kind of common, very essential, very cheap kind of salt is very cheap. You pay 10 rupees, you have 1 kg of salt today, but at that time salt was very cheap. Okay, so if you pay 1 anna, so you can have a lot of salt. You can eat for months or years. Okay, so they cannot exchange everything that they possess for salt only, because you cannot eat only salt. You have to also think about other things, your dress, wheat, grain, then vegetables, many other things that also required. Only salt is not something that will fill your stomach or give you all the strength that you require. So the people, they thought that it is we have to find out some other ways. When they came to know that the forest officers are throwing salt in some particular areas in the forest for different animals, they thought of collecting those salt from the forest. Okay, so they started doing that also. the forest officers, they sometimes they want them not to do that, because the animals, they are also very fond of salt, and if they come to know you are doing all these things, a very unwanted situation will be created. You may be attacked by the animals, and a very something serious might happen. So they have warned, but the people initially, they went to the forest and take precaution that the animals are not around, and they brought salt, whatever is lying on the soil on the surface of the forest. They brought it and managed, but later on they forgot about the fear of the animals. Okay, so Ekoya is one elephant, and for him also salt was being thrown in a particular area of the forest. Okay, so three people also get killed in that process of taking salt from the forest. Okay, so Ekoya killed these three people when he found the elephant also marked these people taking salt frequently, that he is not getting the salt. So after some days, when Ekoya got confirmed that how people are coming and how they were taking his part of salt, so he attacked and killed three people. Okay. So later we find that the villagers get very much agitated after losing three lives there, and they found Ekoya and they killed Ekoya also. Okay, the elephant was also killed. Okay. This is the end of the story. Means you can imagine how the poor people were cheated, how the poor people were deceived by this kind of high class jamindars of the landlords. Okay, this is the story about salt. Salt is at the center of the story. We find for salt there was everything, all the things centered around salt. That is why it is named as salt. Okay. Mm, the people working under Uttam Chand, they were being exploited. They were doing they were being tortured in all the ways, possible ways, by the Jamindar. They do all the activities I said, but still he is exploited. The youth committee, the character Purti Munda, was very instrumental in pursuing, convincing the people to fight against the Jamindar. Okay, he was to some extent successful in pursuing and convincing the people of that area, but he also could not do anything to provide salt to these people. They tried, the youth committee tried all possible means to take salt from other sources. Okay, these Zamindar had all his hands that he brings salt to the village and sells to the people. But these youth committee, they tried also, but they tried in vain. It could not. Their plan did not materialized. Okay. Then they started non-cooperation. They succeeded in doing that, but everything ended with the end of the lives of three people and the life of an elephant named Ekoya. Okay, so this is the story about poverty, about poor, about the unsocial, antisocial rules of the society that governs particularly the rural areas of the country. Jamindars, their exploitations, their arrogance, their showy nature, they all the time they are hypocrites. They try to exploit the poor. They treat like animals to the poor, and all these things you can bring together to this part. This is all about salt. We'll go for the next story, that is um, mm, Tiny's Granny. Tiny's Granny is also another story by Ismat Chug, uh, Chugtai. Ismat Chugtai. originally written in Hindi with the title Nanhi Ki Nani. Tiny is granny is the tiny, you can understand tiny means very small, tiny. So here tiny is the name of a girl. So here granny means grandmother, grandmother. And the Urdu title of the story was Nanhi Ki Nani, was published um, mm, the date is not given. Anyhow, the Ismat Chuktai was writing between 19. He was born in 1915. Okay, he started writing towards the last part of his life. Most of his important works, which came in the last part of his life, and this is a very famous story in Urdu, and uh, by the translation of English, it became also very famous in English. Okay, very famous Indian story, and it is a story which focus on feminism. Okay? This is how this story, Tiny's Granny, is important. Tiny's Granny is a feminist story, and Ismat Chugtai also named as a feminist writer. He is also called a feminist writer who writes about females, or you can say in a feminist approach. Feminism, you must have learnt in your literary theory part. Feminism means when we focus on the upliftment of females, when we focus on making the women race, or we make the female race equal to the male in a male dominated patriarchal society, where male are the you can say household, the head of the house. The female are treated as dolls. They are supposed to mm, they are supposed to follow a lot of rules and regulation which is not meant for the male. They in 19th century and before that, up to 19th century, you can say, in Indian context also, a female is not supposed to go to school. A female is not supposed to participate in any kind of family matters, like going to the police station, going to the court, and in if there is any kind of decisions are being taken in the house, they are not supposed to participate. The male will come and they will decide. The female has to simply um, take the orders from the male. They will simply receive orders and they will do as per the order. They don't have the right to question. They don't have the right to say anything. You cannot. You must have today also, if all the girls, all the women present in the meeting, you must have the experience that you cannot work like this, you cannot laugh like this, you cannot sit like this, you cannot wear such dresses. Okay, you cannot go out to these places, you cannot come to the home during this time of the night or day. So all these regulations are framed only for the female, which is quite injustice to a particular gender. So when we find male and female both existing in the world, having the same potentiality, so why such kind of discrimination? So the feminism focuses on making the female quite equal to the man. Mostly, those who are feminist writers, they focus on the issue by which the women can be empowered. Okay, the government, all the society, we are trying our best, but still we find the same thing um, um, going on in different rural areas. If you go to rural areas, you'll find that feminism has not reached that place yet. Feminism means nothing to them. Okay, they are not aware of what feminism is, what women empowerment is. Okay, So here this story you will find the same traits whatever I discussed. You will have a thorough discussion of all the all the important points that feminism carries, that the feminist writers said, the feminist critics they opine. You will go through in feminism that you must have in our MEG-5 paper. Okay, so if you have read Doll's House by Henrik Ibsen, I think you must have gone through A Doll's House. If you have not gone through that novel, if you get a chance, go through that novel. So that is also a very good feminist writing where females are criticized like anything. So they are only, the title suggests, I said in initially that women are dolls in the hands of a father, in the hands of a husband, in the hands of a brother. Your brother will say, don't do that, you are a girl. Your father will say, you are my daughter, so you should not do like this. My son is free to do, but my daughter should not. Now, city areas we find differences, but I'm talking about the rural areas. India is a rural country. We find maximum places or most of the population they come from the rural areas. So the development of India is only possible through the development of the rural villages. That our prime minister, chief minister, everybody the focus they say, okay, Mumbai, Delhi, Chennai, Bangalore, they are already developed. The people they earn so much, you cannot compare. But the people in village areas, they still they do not know what a university is, what um, uh, what exactly uh, the the kind of pleasure we enjoy in a AC, a room, AC car. So many things. The people do not have. They do not even have smartphones. They do not have computers. They do not have access to internet. Even if those who have access to internet, they misutilize it. This is the rural India all about. So we are talking about feminism particularly. So here the title itself is a piece of feministic concept. The title is Tiny's Granny. So granny has no identity. We identify granny is a common noun. Granny is a common noun. You know, in English we have different kinds of noun: proper noun, common noun, abstract noun, collective noun, material noun. We have five kinds of nouns. You must have idea. So tiny is a proper noun. Tiny here is a proper noun. Means the name of a somebody. The name of somebody is called a, the name of a place or person is called a proper noun. And granny is a common noun because granny refers to all the grandmothers in the world. Is a common name. When you have when your son have their sons and daughters, they will call you either grandmother or grandfather. If you are male, your sons or your daughters children will call you grandfather or grandmother or granny. Grandpa and granny we say. So granny is a common name, common word used for all the grandmothers. So here granny has no identity. We know granny from the identity of tiny. Tiny is granny. If I say Narendra Modi's brother, so brother has no meaning. We don't know. We identify the brother with the identity of Narendra Modi. If I say Mr. X son, so we do not know who the son is. We identify the son using the identity of Mr. X. So here also, granny has no identity. As the women have no identity in the society. When they are in their father's house, they are identified with the identity of their father or brother. When they are out after marriage, when they are out of their own house, when they go to their in-laws house, there you find they are identified either by their husband's identity or the identity of his of her of their father-in-law. So they do not they are not means encouraged to create their identity. Today, we find a lot of examples, instances in the country that the women making their own identity. That is how we say that women empowerment is going on. Okay, but before that, in 20th century, before 20th century, in 18th and 19th century, the women are confined to the household works only, to give birth to the children and take their care along with the family. Okay, to cook food, to wash dresses, and take care of the take the care of all the members of the family. That was the primary job of a lady or a woman, and other things they are not supposed to take interest in. Nobody will allow you to do that. Okay, so that was the scene in 19th century and before that. And 20th century we find some changes, but still if you go to the village, the uneducated families still they continue with the previous trends. Okay, the husband will come with completely drunk and will beat the wife. The wife will tolerate everything, will never question why you are beating me, and she cannot beat her husband. If she started, then situation will get worsen and things will go in a different way. Everybody will say, how can you beat your husband? So that is a very big question mark. So your husband can beat like anything and make you bleed, but you cannot even slap your husband. If you do that, so you are doing a very you know that the women are supposed to worship the husband. This is a concept in our culture also. The wife should worship the husband, the husband should not. And there are different scenes also, different kind of festivals, Savitri Vrata and others, where the wife is supposed to worship. There is a patriarchal set of mind which have given birth to such kind of festivals and celebrations. The wife should celebrate, the wife should worship the husband. Why the husband should not worship the wife? Why the wife should go to a husband's house? Why not the husband coming to the wife's house? So this is the concept of feminism. Feminist writers, they support the women. They always go against the male dominated society. Here also you find that Tiny's granny is the character, Tiny is another character. There are two important characters, Tiny and Tiny's mother, Tiny's granny. Okay, so the novel begins that Granny has forgotten her name. Granny has forgotten means you can also forget, because if nobody calls you by your name, how can you remember your name? And there are many names, different names given to you today also. If you have a child, many people call him or her in different names. So if the child will be called ex son, ex daughter, wise friend, Jet's sister or brother, so then the original name of that ex brother, wise sister, Jet's son, all these things will continue. The original name will not be known. So Granny has reached a situation like that. Granny has forgotten her name because nobody calls Granny by her name. Everybody calls her Tiny's Granny. Okay, Mr. X mother, Mr. Y's sister, Mr. Z's daughter, like this. So nobody calls for a long time. Nobody is calling by her name. So that was the reason why Granny, at the beginning of the story, Granny says that I have forgotten my name. A name suggests your identity. Name refers to your identity. If you do not know your name, so how can you be identified? Okay, if you go, if I say go and go to Bhubaneswar, so Bhubaneswar has its own identity by its name. Okay, if I say go to the place near Puri, so Puri, near Puri there are many other places. So Puri became the identity. You will go to Puri first, then we'll see which are the places adjacent to it. So identity is very much relevant if it is a name, if it has a uh, particular proper address. Okay. So granny, another point will come down. So granny, when talks about her past, she was very living in a poor family. She used to steal food. And also another, in Muslim community, this is about Muslim community. So Muslim community, another thing is there also to hide your identity, that is burqa. Burqa is another kind of thing that you can easily hide your identity. Granny has taken all the advantage of wearing burqa and stolen different things and kept in the house. She is very much known, means she always, she has been forced to steal things from other houses, from other people. Okay. So this was the condition of women being confined to the house. Granny has taken, or Granny is the sole authority of Tiny. There were no other family members. So Tiny is a young daughter, a young girl living under the guardianship of Granny. Granny takes all the care of Tiny. So Tiny and Granny both are living together, and Granny, being a woman, has no work to do but to survive upon depending upon stealing things from others. So that is something very important. She stole a lot of things from other people and kept hidden in a pillow. Okay, inside a pillow, she has kept all the stolen things, and she has kept that. So that is one thing. So she always want Tiny not to go anywhere, or because of the physical beauty that Tiny had. Tiny was a beautiful young girl, full of vigorous, means you can say physical appearance to attract every man. So Granny always instructed Tiny not to go out, not to go in front of any person, not to show up your physical beauty to anybody. So otherwise, you will be exploited. Because women are dolls, I said. You want to play, simply you play and throw it away. So Granny, that is why instructed Tiny, but Tiny, how can she obey all the orders of Granny? Because she is also a human being. As males are running here and they are enjoying the world, enjoying the village, going to different places. So everybody must have the interest, the curiosity to go and see and visit here and there, running here and there. So we find that the deputy commissioner raped Granny, raped Tiny. Tiny was raped by the deputy commissioner. So at the time, you can imagine the deputy commissioner who belongs to a higher class society. They treat such kind of women particularly, and again the lower class people, the poor people, as toys. So if you want to enjoy physical union, simply you go and take up any woman from the poor society, and they will not, they cannot, they do not have the voice to rage against you. They cannot say anything. Even if they raise their voice, nobody will hear it, because a poor man is crying means nobody will come forward. So that is how women are being treated and women are being raped. So no law will be effective. No law against these higher class people can do any harm to them. No laws were there. Laws are there. Always laws are there. But the higher class people, they they suppress the law in all the possible ways, and no law cannot do anything to them. So that happened also with Tiny. Tiny was red. Okay. And one more incident happened, that a monkey stole the pillow, that the granny had kept all the stolen items inside the pillow. Once a monkey came and took away the pillow and opened the pillow in front of the people in the public. in the middle of the village, the monkey tore up the pillow cover. To the surprise of the people, all the stolen items came visible to the public, and they realized that these things are being stolen from their house by somebody, and now they got confirmed that it was a granny. So these were the sucks, you can say, that Granny has never expected to happen in his life. First shock was that the death of her son and daughter-in-law. Second shock, the rape of Tiny. The third shock, that his thievery, that you can say, the theft of kind of the theft or the theft. Her theft was caught, you can say. He was publicly humiliated for the stealing kind of crime that she was usually acquainted with. So these were the three shocks that she received, with which forced her to commit suicide. Out of these three shocks which cannot be tolerated, she committed suicide. So the most important part is the crisis of identity, particularly of the female gender. The female in Indian rural areas, you can say, in Indian villages, we find that the women, they suffer. This is not about granny only. Granny is a character chosen in a particular place, in a particular setting. But we will find a lot of grannies all over India even today also. Those who are being the victim of this corrupt society, which treats them like anything. Okay, in terms of gender, in terms of power, in terms of politics, in terms of social class, in terms of different other ways, community, caste, in terms of everything, women are exploited, all the poor are exploited, and here the exploitation of the women is more focused in this connection. Okay, the female gender are they are suffering from the crisis of identity. The hypocrites in the society, they exploit them the most in whatever ways possible. They exploited, they used, and then they throw them away. So either they will commit suicide, or they will go on go they will go on throughout their life encountering the same, the guilt, the kind of sunning attitude from the people around them. So if you are raped and you want to survive, you want to live in the village. So do you think nobody will say anything? Everybody will sympathize with you that you have been raped. It's very bad. So the criminal should be killed, and you should not worry about it. How many people will come and say such kind of words? Initially, people may say, but later on you will find that he was raped, and she was a kind of girl like that. She must be raped like that. So people will say like this, you cannot tolerate. This is how the women are being exploited. This is one more thing. Exploitation of the women gender, the female gender, is also another important theme. So sympathy for the poor, that is also another point. There was no sympathy, negativity, no sympathy for the poor. If a poor died, no no higher class people, no rich people will pay attention to it. So if a poor man died, it's just like the death of an animal. If a dog dies on the street, who cares about it? Nobody. So like that, if a poor man is killed or raped or murdered, so it's nobody's business. Nobody will ask any question: who killed, why killed. No question, nothing. So that is also another important thing. Poverty propelling to violate social rules. So that is also another important theme. Why Granny preferred to steal and to survive? Because of poverty. Because there was no other means, no other ways. She was a old kind of lady, old lady, having no strength, nothing. Only the burqa helped her to steal things, because you can cover everything, Nobody can identify you. So if you find something lying, so you can take it, and if you get a chance to sell it, you sell and get some money, and you can have your food at least for a day. So that is why Granny preferred to steal. She was not a thief. Granny was not a thief, and such kind of mentality that came to her, it is because of poverty. Poverty propelling to violate social rules. So stealing is a crime, social crime. Who one who steals is generally not liked by the people. We say stealing is a kind of very mean job, a kind of antisocial criminal act. But Granny preferred because she has to take care of Tiny, she has to rear up Tiny, and think of many other parts of the future they have ahead. They had a future. Tiny will get married, and in marriage, she will take a lot of dowry. So many things Granny had thought, and that is why she preferred to steal. But when everything became public, she could not bear the strain. The strain was quite unbearable. She was able to bear all the strain previous to that. But when her character was in question, when her identity, whatever was left, was diminished in front of the cruel public looking and making fun of it, so she preferred to die. Okay. So that is the story of Tiny's Granny. It's a very beautiful story. If you get the chance to read the text, so you go for that. Okay. Another story in short, I'll say because the time is already 3:56. And so, Tadpa is by Gopinath Mahanti, and Gopinath Mahanti is the brother of Surendra Mahanti. Surendra Mahanti and Gopinath Mahanti are two friends. Paraja was written by Gopinath Mahanti, internationally acclaimed text. I must be citing while teaching you initially the background of Indian English literature in translation. I must be saying about Paraja translated by Bikram Kedas. So it was a very beautiful text, Paraja, also about the tribal people from Paraja. Here also Tadpa is a tribal story about the tribal people. Okay. Dongriya Gond. Uh, you will find many tribal means names, name of the tribes. Kandha, Gonda, many are there. So Dongriya. So it is about Tadpa is the name of the central character. Okay, Tadpa is the name of the central character, and uh, in short, I'll say what happens in the story. Um, um, a team, a team of civilized people, they went to Niamgiri, a fictional name like Malgudi. Okay, Niamgiri is not present in Odisha, but it is a fictional name. There are these people, a team of people with higher civilization, you can say. They are very civilized, and they have a lot of money. They are very much educated. They went to search out for these tribes and find out how they are living, and try to make them civilized like them, show them everything that is going on. So they went to they went in search of that. Okay. Now, this his most telling and severe indictment can be seen in the tale of Todapa. Okay, this is not a novel. This is a story. It can be made a novel. The story was published after the death of means our author Gopinath Mohanty. Okay, after his death, it was published posthumously. Posthumously, we say. It was translated by Sikant Mahapatra. Tadpa is the eponymous story. Eponymous means when the character has the same name as the title of the novel, we say eponymous story. uh, encounters with a group of seven officials, a researcher, an outsider, okay, moving from Bhubaneswar to the jungles of Odisha. The members of the group on their way to the Niyamgiri hills discussing how best they can solve the problems of the tribal Gonds, particularly the tribal people living in the hill areas. Okay, so the problems they are facing and how to make them civilized, how to bring them to the limelight and show them how much the world has been changed. Okay, they are confined to the forest only. They think that there is no other areas except these forest. So the forest is for them everything. They get everything from the forest, their dresses, their houses, their medicines, whatever you require for living is available in the forest. They are happy with that. They do not want to come out of it. So their surnames and designations of these officers can be interpreted that they belong to a higher class in the society or in higher social hierarchy. Parsuram, the development officer, Bharat, the anthropologist, and Haripani, all are educated, well settled, either Brahmins or of other any upper caste, the Kshatriya, Brahmin. The narrator tells us that members of the group undertake the journey for a serious purpose. Okay, and that was the serious purpose that they want to make these people civilized. Okay, there they encounter with Tadpa. This uh, uh, before that also we'll go later to Tadpa is the central character. How dramatically they see Tadpa. The irony-ridden narratives is taken up by the exchange of ideas and debates. So while moving forward, the officers of higher society having a lot of qualifications, educational qualifications, they were talking, discussing, debating over the issues related to these tribal people. The illiterate, uncivilized tribals can be brought within the pale of civilization. That was their aim, and at the same time, they were also concerned about the preservation of the dongriyas for goodness and simplicity. Okay, this is the first part of the story. The narrative interest is sustained through the element of adventure. Okay, he is describing the description of the jungle, how the appearances of a representative a member of Dongriya tribe. Okay, mostly Tadpa is the central character, and they met Tadpa. Uh, they find Tadpa in a very dramatic way. Like they found a spot of shadow. Okay, a shadow like thing. It was moving and then became steady, still. The shadow was moving. They flashed the torch. They see a person. The person was bare bodied without any cloth, means only means except a loin cloth. Loin cloth, you may understand, covering only the private part, that is the loin cloth usually worn by the men particularly. uh, an axe on the shoulder axe, that you must have seen the tribal people in this get up most of the time in different movies. Everywhere there were shadows of different shapes. The conservation with the conversation with Tadpa uh, reveals that uh, there were different theories from what they hear from Tadpa about his culture, beginning of the unusual name to their contrasting perceptions of the world. Okay. Uh, One example of Tadpa's utter amazement at the group's fear of the tiger. The tiger is very, you can say, a furious animal. Okay. Tadpa is surprised to see that how these highly educated people, they are afraid of a tiger. When asked to Tadpa, he say in a a rhetorical way, uh, don't you eat when you are hungry? Tadpa asked the people, don't you eat when you are hungry? That is natural to Tadpa. No, Tadpa sees tiger very normally, because tiger eats goat as man eats fish or anything else. So they will eat. So whenever you are hungry, you are supposed to eat. Okay, is scandalous for them. So when we see tiger jumping and running after a goat or a deer, so we find it very scary, scandalous kind of thing. Are you afraid when you go on the road? Tadpa is asking. So this is the simple kind of question. We are running out of time. So when Tadpa is given 25 paisas by the officers, he took it and again he dropped all the coins on the ground, because for Tadpa it is nothing but just like pebbles. It has no meaning. Money or coins, that is very important for a civilized society. When you live in a civilized society, money is very important, the hallmark of civilization, we say. But it is just like stones, just like pebbles, other pebbles available in the forest, in the hill areas. Tadpa threw it down, dropped it down on the ground, cares little about money, has no idea about money, has no craving towards money. He was very careless about what is this. How can they use in the forest, even if they have money or if they know the value also? How can they use? Others should have money also, they can exchange and get food or anything else. But it was a kind of very interesting part of Odia culture, Odia tribal culture, where if you try to make them civilized, you may not. Okay, so we cannot discuss more because it's already 4 and 7. So another class is scheduled after this. So I'm to
Sir,
stop.
I have one
Uh,
question.
yes,
Good evening, sir. Sir, I just want to know one question. Woman's point of the view
yes.
referring the text written by the woman. Which text it is? It is a granny.
In the story, Tiny's granny. What is the
But sir,
question?
question is discuss the woman point of view by referring to
Yes,
the text written by woman.
means you are talking about other text or this particular text.
No, sir, I am not getting this question answered. That's why I am asking it is from which text. I thought it is granny. Then I think, but it
No,
is not
this
related with
is
the granny.
from which paper? MEG-14.
MEG-14.
MEG-14. Which part? It's not clearly mentioned,
No,
because
sir.
women you
They
can find
they gave
also
this
in
only this question. What is their
okay.
theme and concern?
No, if a particular text will be given, accordingly we can discuss um, what kind of feministic elements available or pointed out in that particular text. See, if you know text is given, or means
Only uh,
all the
which
text.
which
There are
text is written referred to the woman?
no. This is one I said. There are other
Uh,
stories also. There are
uh,
novels also having feministic point of view. So if
okay.
you take all the text present in MEG 14 and you have
Uh,
to take account of all the text and write feministic elements available on those texts, you can also write. But I don't think a question will be framed like that, taking all the text into account, framing
that's
one
why,
question.
sir. 20 marks question maximum. How long I can write the all together?
And that is the point. So the question can be understood what exactly written. So accordingly, if it is from block 4, then only the text prescribed in block 4 can be taken into account.
Another
Okay,
question, sir. Bhakti poet. What is a bhakti poet mean? Who is the bhakti poet?
bhakti. There are many poets in bhakti movement. You go through bhakti movement. There was a movement, Kabir Das
Okay.
and other. Kabir, and many other poets are there in Bhakti movement. There was a movement in
Okay.
Indian literature. In the initial
Huh?
class, I said about Bhakti movement. When literature came into being after
Huh?
Ramayana Mahabharata, Vedic civilization, another important flourishing age in Indian literature was Bhakti movement. So during that moment, the
Hmm.
poets are called Bhakti poets. So there are many poets. If
Okay.
you go through Bhakti
Okay.
movement, you can get all the poets, and those who are prescribed for you, so you can write about them. There are many poets. You cannot
Okay.
write about all. Okay.
But so
So you go
how
through
many I
Bhakti
can
movement.
choose from there?
Sir, good afternoon. Actually, I just wanted to tell something about this question. Ma'am has asked regarding the Bhakti poets, and the question is that what do you mean by Bhakti movement? And select any one poet from Bhakti region, from your region, any one poet from your region, and write about them. So, like that, if Madam belongs to Orissa, Madam has to go for one poet who belong to Orissa, one bhakti poet who belong to Orissa. Like we can, if we go to, if
Yes,
we
yes,
refer
yes.
to, yes, if we refer to Orissa, then Orissa Jaidev is a bhakti poet. So ma'am can write about something about that poet and his contribution
Okay.
to the
No,
literature.
poetry is coming after story will. Uh, After the short story part, we are going for the poetry section. So in the poetry section, we'll discuss in detail who are the poets prescribed. So there must be the poems belonging to Bhakti movement. So there also again we will discuss about Bhakti movement and the background which helped them to write Bhakti poetry or Bhakti literature. We'll discuss that. The question
Sir,
says that you
actually,
have to
one
write
small
in.
doubt is there that for 20 mark question, how many pages we need to write in exam and for in assignment, sir?
No, assignment is different, but in examination, at least 20 marks means it should be three, 4 pages. 3, 4 page answer is supposed to be written.
The assignment is different. Mean we can write the 5 6 pages in the assignment.
So all the mics are on. I think echo is being heard. Hello.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, you mark is not always
Sir,
important.
I
So you
asked.
have.
Not
Yes.
always important. Sir, I also last time I also wrote the four pages only. That's why I'm asking you.
4 pages is more
20
than
marks
sufficient.
question,
No, no
four
question.
page.
Yes, yes. No problem. For 20
Okay.
mark, if marks are if for 50 marks will be for a question. So can one write 100 pages or 10 pages, 15 pages? No, that is not the matter. But four
Yes, sir.
pages, whatever matters are available or one student can write in examination. I think 4 pages will be sufficient. Okay, and if somebody
Okay, sir.
is capable of writing 10 pages for a question, yeah, one can write.
Hmm.
I had a friend in my university who was supposed to finish a 20 marks question in the first original main answer book, which was 24 pages. He used to finish the whole copy in for writing one question only. And other questions he used to take additionals and write. And others, me and other students were also there, those who were unable to complete the main paper only. Okay, so that depends upon you. If you are writing with a large handwriting and giving margins, means long margins, wide margins, so definitely you have to write more. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Uh, So thank you. Malik sir is waiting.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.